How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another Golf Score Studio feature update video. Today we are going to introduce everyone to the new feature, which is current shot distance and club choice. This is a feature that applies to our stroke card category, so let's dive right into it. So what you're going to see is that there is a current shot distance and the club choice. It looks a little different on every template. And so this will give you an idea of what it should look like. Now we can head over to the inputs panel and I'll show you the manual way to manipulate that. You would scroll down to the current shot distance, the unit, and the club choice. This is where you can manipulate your numbers. And notice how when current shot distance is empty, it gets rid of the distance unit and it just shows the club choice. And then when you enter, it will bring up that club choice, and you're able to switch it from yards to feet to meters, just because when you're putting it makes more sense to use feet, so that's why we added that. And then in this box right here is where you can add the club choice. So that is the manual workflow. For the pro user workflow, you would scroll down and it would take place within this current shot info panel right here. And you'll see we've got some dummy data right here. Now, moving over to the current shot info wizard, you can open that by clicking enter data, or if you have in your batch a stroke card, which is what the wizard currently applies to, it will just automatically pull itself up when you click generate. So if you're thinking, oh, that's a cool feature, but I just liked the way it worked before, well, we still have that. It just has a couple extra steps. You would just turn this tag on and then hit generate and then click done. The default is exactly the way it was before, so that is the quick workaround. However, now you are able to turn them off where they do not show up at all, or you can turn them on and manipulate specific instances where you wouldn't want it to show. Like, for example, let's cross this eagle off, and let me explain why you would do that. Now, just visualize that this par 4, 324 yards, Joe gets an eagle, so he's probably got a wedge in his hand, and imagine he's about to swing the club, and you got the stroke card that comes over into the corner, and it says for eagle. That kind of gives it away. The user might see that and suspect something. There's no surprise if you have a very attentive user. It's up to you if you want to keep that or not, but now you have the choice to go into the wizard and turn that off so that you don't give away the surprise chip in eagle. And that is why we added the tag to the current shot info, because the default behavior worked great, but we wanted to give our users the ability to manipulate it in special circumstances like this if they choose. Now you can also turn shot distance on, club choice on, or leave them off. It is a little bit more input and time required because there's no way to automatically know how far the shot distance is or what club choice you are using for that shot. So it is going to take manual entry, but we've created this wizard to help speed it up for our pro users. Just an idea of what this video is going to look like. We're going to have the wizard open, and then on the left you will see the export output of the inputs that we are adding here. So whatever we put here, I will attach the generated output to the left so that you can see exactly what goes in and what comes out. So let's go ahead and open the wizard, and you will see a couple of things. Current shot info wizard, this little badge right here will show you the keyboard shortcuts, because we tried to make it as quickly as possible so that you don't have to take your hands on and off the keyboard to click around on the mouse. If you're going to add these to your videos, then say you're a scratch golfer, well, that's 72 that you're going to have to add. So we tried to speed it up as much as possible by allowing the user to not have to take their hands off the keyboard and navigate through these fields and pages with the keyboard strokes, which are explained in this little icon right here. This X will, like it says, clear all data and close. So if you've entered all of your stuff and then you exit out, sorry, you're going to have to enter it again, because this is the clear and close, whereas the save and close is down here. So make sure you don't fall for that trap. The next thing you'll see is hole 1, shot 1. And then it gives a little context in the line below. Hole 1's 322 yards. Joe had 3 shots, Jane had 4 shots. So ideally, you have edited your video and now you are coming back to add graphics. You've already got a note for all of the shot distances and the club choice. If this is something that you've done before, you've probably figured out a good workflow for your videos. So just do whatever works for you. But it would speed it up to have notes of all of these shot distances and club choices when you're going through this wizard. So let's get into it. You'll see that we have Joe and Jane, the 2 players in our scorecard down here. And the shot distance for hole 1, shot 1, well, that's actually going to be 332 yards because Joe is hitting from the tee. Real quick, let me back out of the shot wizard and show you what I mean by this. So the current shot distance, if this is equal to this will disappear. That is because it would be redundant to have it twice. So if it's equal, it gets rid of it. If it's not equal, it will show. So all that means is that we can just skip this one right here if we're playing from the tees. So Joe, in this example, let's say Joe is playing from the tees, we can just skip and go right to club choice, which will be driver. And then we can hit tab to go down to Jane's shot distance. Now Jane can be the same thing as Joe, or we could say that Jane is playing from tees that are a little further up, and so we'll just give her 300 for that and also give her a driver. And there we go. We can either hit tab to focus on this next button, or we can just hit enter and it will go to the next page. Hitting escape would take us back, enter to the next page. And so now we are on hole 1, shot 2, and I'm just going to add some data right here real quick. And that's the pretend data for shot 2. Now we can just hit enter and go to shot 3. This is where you can start to see the 4-tag chips. That's what this is called. This is a little chip. So that is the 4-tag chip for Joe, and here is the 4-tag chip for Jane. And then this is the distance unit chip, by the way, which we will play around with here in a second. So Joe actually makes this, so let's give him some proper data that would reflect that. And in this example, Joe is going to be putting, so we will tab to the distance unit chip and hit space or enter to navigate over to the feet, and then we can tab back to club choice, give Joe a putter, and keep his 4 birdie tag, and then we can move on to Jane. She does not make this one because this is shot 3. Jane shoots a 4, but we are going to leave the 4-tag chip there because, you know, we want the viewer to maybe suspect that Jane sinks this putt from 22 feet. So we are going to intentionally leave that there just for the sake of viewer suspense. If we didn't want to do that, we could just get rid of it and it won't show. But we are going to keep it there for this example and move to the next page. Now we are still on hole 1, shot 4. Joe doesn't have a 4th shot. He already made it, so that's why Jane's is the only one present. And let's say in this example, Jane had a really great lag putt. It's a tap in. Well, we can just leave shot distance blank because it's a tap in. Who cares? It's a club choice. Obviously, she's still using the putter, so we don't have to enter that either if we don't want to. And then we can just leave that 4 par because that's the score that she's getting for this, and we can move on to the next hole. Now you see hole 2, shot 1, 233 yards. Joe gets 4, Jane gets 4. So let's just work through the data here. Like I mentioned before, we can just leave the shot distance for Joe empty because if we added 233 yards from the tee, it won't show anyways. If you like that feature, leave a comment. If you don't like that feature, leave a comment because we thought it made sense to have it to try and eliminate that redundancy. So let us know what you think about that, and if you have any problems with that, we can try and find something to work for both use cases. So I'm just going to go ahead and enter some of the dummy data right here. And now we find ourselves on hole 2, shot 3. Now they get the same shot of par, and they have the 4 birdie here. So I'm going to enter more dummy data. And let's actually just get rid of Jane's tag just so we can see how that comes across in the generation, and then move on to the last shot. You can add the shot distance if you want, but in this pretend example, Joe has a tap in, so we're just going to leave that blank for par, and Jane also has a tap in, but we're going to get rid of that just so we can see that reflected in the file that we export. And now we move on to the last hole, and this is that special case where Joe gets an eagle, and you might want to manipulate the 4 tag and the way it behaves. The default behavior might not make sense here because it has the ability to kind of spoil the surprise of a really crazy shot. Let me just go ahead and work through this first shot real quick. Okay, so I want you to visualize how Joe is 33 yards and he's got a gap wedge, and then the graphic comes up and it says 4 eagle. The user might see that and think, oh, no way, does he actually make it here? And so it's like up to you if you want to spoil the surprise or not. In this case, we are going to get rid of that because we don't want to spoil the surprise. Now, it's totally up to you in the content that you make. We just wanted to give you the option and have a little bit more control over the graphic output. Hole 3, shot 3, just Jane left. All right, now we get to the end and we can save and close. Please do not, at this point, click the X because that is the way that you clear the data and close. You want to save it because you do not want to have to go through that again. Save and close. And that's that. If we had started with generate, then this done button is here, and that is how, see, look, it's been saved, just a reminder. But if you open the wizard by clicking on generate, then this done button will be here, and if we clicked that right now, it would, like it says, start generating your overlays. We don't want to do that right now, so save and close. So yeah, that is how the wizard works. Now let's go ahead and generate and hit done. It will sparkle its way across, and we can hit save. Here's the output, and we already saw what it produced because I had attached them next to the wizard on this video, so we don't really need to go over this again. Save some time. So there you have it. That is the new current shot info feature for you. Feel free to leave a comment if you like what you see or if you have any suggestions or recommendations. Just wanted to let you guys know that this was a user recommended feature. They contacted us via the contact form here, and they sent us an email, and we were able to work with them and get this feature added. So for real, if you have anything you want to add or anything, we're always excited to work with our users, so do not hesitate to reach out to us. Hopefully you like this new feature. Take full advantage of it if you want to. Thanks for watching and have a great day.